In the early years of the 19th century, the United States was a young and restless nation, eager to prove its strength to the world. Across the Atlantic, the mighty British Empire was locked in a bitter struggle with Napoleon's France, and America found itself trapped between two great powers. Britain's navy ruled the seas, and to cripple Napoleon, they imposed harsh trade restrictions on neutral nations, including the United States. American ships were stopped, searched, and seized by British warships. Worse still, thousands of American sailors were kidnapped and forced into British service, a cruel practice known as impressment. To Americans, it was not just an insult, but an assault on their freedom and independence. Frustration and anger grew across the land, and soon fiery voices in Congress, known as the War Hawks, began to demand action. Men like Henry Clay and John C. Calhoun thundered that America must defend its honor, its rights, and its future. But not everyone agreed. Many in New England feared that war would destroy their trade with Britain. The country was divided, yet on June 18, 1812, the United States declared war on Great Britain. It was a bold move for a young nation, one that would test its spirit like never before. Far from the halls of Congress, another fight was already underway. In the forests and plains of the frontier, Native American nations were uniting under the brilliant Shawnee leader, Tecumseh. For years, settlers had taken their lands, and Tecumseh dreamed of creating a native confederacy strong enough to resist further expansion. He saw Britain as a possible ally in that struggle. When the war began, native warriors joined British forces in Canada, seeing a chance to defend their homelands. For them, this was not a war over ships or trade. It was a war for survival. The Americans, meanwhile, were confident. They believed conquering Canada would be easy, that British troops were too busy fighting Napoleon to resist. But reality struck hard. The invasion of Canada quickly turned into disaster. At Detroit, an entire American army surrendered without firing a shot. At Queenston Heights, U.S. forces were repelled by a smaller British and native force, and the great Tecumseh became a hero in the North. The war that many thought would be short and glorious had become one of hardship and humiliation. But if the American army struggled on land, its navy found glory at sea. The U.S. Navy was small but fierce, and none symbolized its power more than the USS Constitution, a majestic wooden ship soon nicknamed Old Ironsides. In battle after battle, she and other American vessels defeated the seemingly invincible British warships. When cannonballs bounced off her thick hull, sailors cheered that she was made of iron. These victories electrified the nation, proving that even a young country could stand toe-to-toe with the empire that ruled the oceans. Yet as the war dragged on, both nations paid a heavy price. In 1814, with Napoleon temporarily defeated, Britain turned its full might toward America. British troops invaded from the north and the east, burning cities and towns. The ultimate humiliation came in August 1814, when British soldiers marched into Washington, D.C. and set fire to the White House, the Capitol, and other government buildings. Flames lit the night sky as the young nation's capital was reduced to ashes. But even as the city burned, America's spirit did not. President Madison and his wife Dolly fled, carrying the nation's precious documents and the portrait of George Washington. The fire destroyed walls, but not resolve. Soon after, the British turned their sights on Baltimore. For 25 hours, they bombarded Fort McHenry with rockets and shells, hoping to break the Americans' will. Watching from a British ship in the harbor was a young lawyer named Francis Scott Key. Through the smoke and fire, he saw the American flag still waving at dawn, a symbol that the nation had endured. Moved by what he witnessed, Key wrote the words that would one day become the national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. But the war was not over. In the South, a British army prepared to invade New Orleans, hoping to seize control of the Mississippi River. There, a tough and determined general named Andrew Jackson gathered an unlikely army of soldiers, frontiersmen, freed slaves, and local volunteers. Against overwhelming odds, Jackson's forces crushed the British assault in a stunning victory. Cannons roared, smoke filled the air, and within hours, the battle was over. Thousands of British soldiers were killed or captured, while the Americans suffered only light losses. Jackson's triumph made him a national hero and gave the United States a newfound sense of pride. Ironically, the Battle of New Orleans took place weeks after the war had officially ended. A peace treaty had already been signed in Ghent, Belgium. But news traveled slowly, and neither side knew